Are the 4-2 Seattle Seahawks with I see dead people, Sam Darnold under center actually good? I'll investigate it. By the way, I used to cover this team. You up? We might be sending some texts to some Houston Astros exes of ours. And people are mad at that guy again. You know who I'm talking about. Over something he's doing that you should actually want to happen, just not for his reasons. I'm Paul Gallant, and this is the Gallant Says podcast.
A radio show host in Seattle called Paul Gallant.
Paul Gallant's wondering the same things a lot of people wonder.
You are definitely living in the hindsight world today, Paul.
Do you feel there's been a consistent theme with the interceptions?
I think every interception really has a different story.
I was just kind of curious what Paul gets to see.
Grow up, are you kidding me? Paul Gallant, what the hell is wrong with you?
Hello and welcome aboard the Gallant Says podcast. It is Thursday, October 16th, 2025, live on YouTube at Paul Gallant, on Twitch at Gallant Says, on X and Twitter at Gallant Says Pod, on Instagram at Sports Gallant. No TikTok today. We got banned for a couple of days again. And on Facebook at Paul Gallant Sports. You can join the show Monday through Friday around noon Central Time and occasionally after major Houston sporting events. It's also available after the fact wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, look for the Gallant Says podcast. Subscribe, rate, and review. If you want to cut me off mid-thought, the best way to get me to answer a question of yours is to super chat me on YouTube or Twitch, and I'll play this.
Paul, stop talking. Listen.
But I will eventually get to your comments, which you can also leave by email, gallantsays@gmail.com, or by leaving a text message or voicemail at 281-836-3912. Again, 281-836-3912. Shout out to Sean Wally on the Instagram side of things. Guy I knew from back in the day in Seattle. Not Santa asks, hey, Paul, where's your Mariners hat? You are wearing a Gary Payton Seattle Supersonics jersey. The Mariners hat that I have is mounted on that wall in this studio. I have their throwback hats from my time up in Seattle, the royal blue and gold from their Trident era. They had some good uniforms back in the day, and I think they should wear their teal uniforms more. Last night, obviously, they were not able to take a 3-0 lead on the Toronto Blue Jays. We'll see how Game 4 unfolds. Very excited that tomorrow on the show, the Groz, Dave Grosby, Seattle radio legend, is going to hang out with me for a little bit to talk about Monday night's Texans Seahawks game, and also about how the city's handling the M's and this playoff run of theirs. I used to cover the Seattle Seahawks not that long ago. And I'll be honest, I don't know shit about them anymore. Things changed in the NFL so quickly over just a couple of seasons. Here's what I know about these Seahawks. 1, JSN, whose name is very intimidating to pronounce, is one of the best wide receivers in the league. Ohio State guy. Played with CJ Stroud back in the day. I truly am too scared to pronounce his name. Don't make fun of me. So we're going to use YouTuber Julian Mikel to teach us how to pronounce Jackson Smith. Not going to say the last name correctly. Take it away, Julian.
You are looking at Julian's pronunciation guide, where we look at how to pronounce better some of the most mispronounced words in the world, like this other curious word. But how do you say what you're looking for today?
What an interesting intro, right? I stumbled across this earlier. We might go to this every single time. I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce something. Also, leave it to YouTube to have a video online, and it takes you about 10, 15, 20 seconds to get to the part that you actually want to see to help you out with something. That's the YouTube way. Anyway, let's actually figure out how to pronounce JSN's last name.
American football player, name pronunciation. More names from football stadium, Seattle Seahawks. Jackson Smith. Jackson Smith, of course. Njigba.
Njigba. Okay, cool. Njigba. Jackson Smith. Njigba. He's one of the best wide receivers in the league. I was watching some Seahawks games from earlier this year. Seems like he is wide open over the middle all the time. Seahawks offense deserves credit for being able to make that happen. And by the way, did you know that there is a Kubiak on the Seahawks? Clint Kubiak is their offensive coordinator. He was the Saints offensive coordinator last year. Passing game coordinator for the 49ers in 2023. He has been all over the place. Broncos passing game coordinator and quarterback coach in 2022. The Vikings offensive coordinator in 2021. That offense is purring. It also has Cooper Kupp now. Eastern Washington legend. He's back in Washington, lining up across from Jackson Smith Njigba. Mike McDaniel, the Ravens defensive coordinator from the 2023 season, who gave that Texans defense fits, he is now the Seahawks head coach. It's not Pete Carroll, the guy I used to get to interview after every Seahawks game when I was up in Seattle. His defense is scary. They get after the quarterback. They sacked Trevor Lawrence 7 times on Sunday. They are a top 2 running defense. Texans can't run the football. There are a lot of interesting parts of this Seahawks team at 4-2. It looks like while they can't run the ball, they struggle to a similar degree, at least up to the last 2 weeks, as the Texans. But the passing game is working. Sam Darnold, he who sees ghosts, is off to a really impressive start this year. He made some clutch throws against the Jaguars last week. And in that game that the Buccaneers beat them, where the Bucs were wearing their throwbacks and the Seahawks were wearing their throwbacks, Sam Darnold, to his credit, hung in there with Baker Mayfield throw for throw. I mean, it's really impressive. But is Sam Darnold good now? Vikings had a great start last year. Then we saw Sam Darnold in the playoffs. Sam Darnold sure looked a whole lot like the guy that went viral with the god-awful Jets seeing ghosts. In case you don't remember that moment in time, I'll refresh your memory. Here is Sam Darnold on the sideline in the midst of a Jets-Patriots game. You can see him right here. Fumbling a little bit. Throwing the ball directly to a Patriots player. And saying right there, let's play it one more time, I'm seeing ghosts. Lip readers saw that, and since it's the Jets, they went to town on Darnold. And really felt like his reputation was irreversibly damaged there, right? How the hell is he going to overcome this? But he has. He's gone from being the guy who sees ghosts. Anyone remember that movie, The Sixth Sense? Is this a dated reference now? I'm going to try to say it the way that Haley Joel Osment says it. I see dead people all the time.
I see dead people.
In your dreams? While you're awake? Dead people like in graves and coffins?
Walking around like regular people.
Great movie. I watched this movie with my sister when I was a little kid. My sister had already seen it, and I think she wanted to see me be blown away by the M. Night Shyamalan twist. Where, spoiler alert, in case you've never seen the movie, you find out that Haley Joel Osment is seeing a ghost in that scene that you just saw right there. That's not quite a spoiler in case you haven't seen the movie. She was so mad, though, when I guessed in the movie, wait, is he dead? Is this guy dead? She wasn't happy that I guessed it. I didn't know, though. I just throw it out there. Asking aloud while watching the movie. Bringing it back to Sam Darnold. Darnold was the guy who saw ghosts. But over the last year, I think he's gone from ghost guy to a white version of Jameis Winston, a dude who hangs in there, holds onto the ball probably too long at times, but has the chutzpah to just chuck it deep all the time, to now, with Clint Kubiak, a quarterback you'd probably be cool with for a full season. You're going to think you could do better. That's, I think, what 80% of NFL fan bases feel at all times. We could do better than this guy. You're probably going to feel that with Sam Darnold because of the past. But Darnold's had a bit of a glow up over these last couple of seasons. And looking at the numbers first off, and then watching a little bit of the film with Sam Darnold, guy's been pretty impressive to open up the season. Picking up on where he opened up last year. Does it last all season? We will see. We're a third of the way through the year. Adjustments might be made. DeMeco Ryans is a damn good defensive play caller. Monday night might be a little more difficult for Sam Darnold than it's been for much of this season. But Darnold is third in the league in passing yards, despite the Seahawks having the lowest pass rate in the NFL. He has completed 39 of 56 passes downfield, 10-plus air yards, for 932 yards, 8 touchdowns, and just 1 interception. That's a passer rating of 144.3. A completion percentage of 69.6%. Nearly 70% completion percentage throwing the ball downfield. This would be the highest rank ever in the next-gen stats era. That's fucking nuts. The guy's great at throwing the ball downfield, and while I'm not the biggest fan of his pocket presence, watching some of the film of him this year, he's got some for now. Maybe it's because the Seahawks offensive line's really good at pass protection. I'm not an offensive line expert, but when you combine something that a lot of people already knew about Sam Darnold, that he's good at throwing the football downfield, with some really capable wide receivers and an offensive line that can keep him upright, you will see Sam Darnold doing what he's done. The last 22 games, he has a 100-plus passer rating 16 times. He's tied for the most in the league with Lamar Jackson. Isn't that crazy? This guy's good. I don't know if it lasts, but his numbers through 6 games. 114 of 161 for 1,541 yards, 11 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He has only been sacked 7 times, and he has only been pressured on 31.6% of his dropbacks. I mean, god damn. That's the lowest pressure rate of his career. The numbers don't lie, and the film doesn't lie. And I was hoping going into this game to look at Sam Darnold and see some of what I used to see. But I'm a little nervous about this matchup for the Texans. I feel like the Texans are going to come up with a good game plan defensively, but something that has been, at times, an issue. This is a team that gives up big plays from time to time. You got Kalen Bullock back there at safety. Slow start for him compared to expectations that I had for him going into the year. I think the world of his talent, his range, his size, his length. This is going to be a big game for him. And it's going to be a big game for the Texans secondary, which has some big names with Derek Stingley, who just got engaged, and Kamari Lassiter going into his second year. The second year guys, this is a big week for them. I feel good about the Texans' ability to stop the Seahawks ground game. I feel good about the Texans' ability to, at the very least, create some pressure against Sam Darnold, though that offensive line's been really good. But I wonder about what's going to go on downfield, because Darnold has been money on that front. This is a good team. They're getting hyped up by a lot of folks in the national media. I can't wait for Monday night. Some comments here. My cousin says that my grandma also predicted that Bruce Willis was a ghost in The Sixth Sense the whole time. Great minds. Great mind think alike. We called her Nana. She was maybe 5 foot at most tall and ripped cigarettes while drinking Bud Heavies, and you would never know it. Could tap dance and had this really thick Boston accent with a raspy voice. Used to talk to my dad, who's named Gary. Yeah, when you're coming over here. Like, sounded just like that. She was great. I miss her. I miss my grandparents. Miss them. Anyway, everybody. What else is going on the Twitch side of things? HTX Rhino predicts 21-12 Seattle. Probably will be a defensive slugfest. Certainly with you on that front. Whose defense is better? I think that's up for debate. But the Seahawks are getting a lot of pressure on teams. And do we really buy into the Texans' offensive line making a massive improvement to this point this year? I'm not quite there. Anyway, let's keep this show going. I saw this clip. This is from Sam Darnold when he was on Bussin' with the Boys talking about seeing ghosts. This post was from 2022. I guess his answer here is a reason that a lot of people want to see him be successful, and have now seen him be successful in both Minnesota and in Seattle now. Here's Sam Darnold.
Animus thing saying you're seeing ghosts out there.
Right.
Seeing ghosts.
Seeing ghosts.
Hey, that's a tough meme.
Yeah, it is. No, it's a tough thing to handle, to this day.
Mm-hmm. So when all that stuff's cycling, what are you thinking about that?
It's interesting because like in our room, in a quarterback room,
mm-hmm.
we would see guys kind of like in the pocket. You have some quarterbacks flinch a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
We would say, "Oh, they're seeing ghosts out there,"
mm-hmm.
and so like said that to my coach at the time. when we were down 40-0.
Yeah,
because I was just pissed and didn't know what to say, to be honest. And it happened, and they got it on live TV.
So were you mic'd up? Who was mic'd up?
I was mic'd up.
Oh, you fucked up.
Yeah.
That's on you. I was hoping it'd be like a coach or something like that, but you sold yourself out.
No, it's for sure on me. I'll take that one to the grave.
For sure on me.
I'll take that one to the grave, no doubt.
But hey, listen, everyone has bad games.
That was the worst game by far that I've ever played in my life, and I own it.
Good for him. Good perspective on it back in 2022. Good for him having good things happen to him, too. The Jets suck. They're just fucking garbage. Terrible franchise. Never will be good. I don't think it matters if they get talent, which they supposedly have, or the right head coach. It's just never going to work. I wanted to react to some of what DeMeco Ryans had to say about the Seattle Seahawks on, was it Wednesday? My days are off. On Tuesday at his week opening press conference, I think he's going to speak today with Houston media, if he hasn't already. Here is DeMeco talking about Jackson Smith-Njigba in a way that created a little bit of controversy because someone tried to be all clickbaity about this answer online. This was posted and caught by Texans commenter. There's so many aggregators out there that are trying to get clicks. Somebody by the name of @FeelLikeMafe posted DeMeco Ryans pretending he doesn't know the league's top receiver. He's going to regret this. Might be a troll account. Here he is taking a clip out of context.
Done so far. What are some things?
What's his name?
What's his name? Because you couldn't hear the pronunciation right there. Also, want to make a white person uncomfortable? Ask them, without having seen that little intro video that we saw, to pronounce Jackson Smith-Njigba's name when you see it written in front of you. It's one of those words where you're like, I better not fuck this up. As a broadcaster, I certainly feel that way. There's another player by the name of Noah whose last name also makes me nervous to the point where I don't want to pronounce it because I don't want someone to isolate that clip and use it against me. I don't want to play that. But here is the actual question and answer. DeMeco Ryans talking about Jackson Smith-Njigba, arguably a top 10, top 5 wide receiver in 2025.
Done so far. What are some things?
What's his name?
Nah,
I'm messing with you.
Is that close?
No, JSN has done an outstanding job this year for Seattle. Darnold has found a nice target to throw through, and he's made that entire offense go. Whether you're covering him or not, he's making explosive plays, game after game. He continues to show up, and JSN, he's definitely having a Pro Bowl caliber year. He's doing an outstanding job.
He is looking good. More from DeMeco Ryans at his press conference on Tuesday. Here he is, also talking about the Seahawks pass rush, how good it is. After all, it did sack Trevor Lawrence 7 times on Sunday. Here is Texans head coach DeMeco Ryans.
Interior piece with their tackles, Murphy, Reed, Williams. They're really big guys inside, strong. It's hard to move those guys inside, so it starts there. And then on the edges, really smart players on the edge with Nwosu, with Mafe, with all the guys that they have. DeMarcus Lawrence, like all those guys done a really nice job on the edges. Their entire defense line, I feel like that's the strength of their defense, right? And it's going to be a challenge for us to handle their front. It's all going to start there. Any team that's been able to move the ball versus these guys, you have to do a good job versus their front. And they're good in the run game, also in the pass game with the stunts that they run. They don't have to pressure much because they get a lot of pressure with their front 4 guys. So, a huge challenge for us, challenge for our offensive line this week.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely terrifying. They're getting pressure with 4 guys, 2 of whom I don't know how to pronounce their name. The other, DeMarcus Lawrence, the guy who left the Cowboys because he wanted to actually win somewhere. He said that pissed off some Cowboys in saying that. I think specifically Micah Parsons. This Texans offensive line is in for a long day. Are they up for it? We're going to find out. Hopefully not the hard way Monday night in Monday Night Football. Here is more Texans head coach DeMeco Ryans talking about a stadium he's very familiar with. If you have never been to a Seahawks game at Lumen Field, you're missing out. It is a pretty awesome place to watch a football game, both because of the scenic views. The Mariners ballpark and Seahawks ballpark are basically right by the water. In the Puget Sound. So there's lots of big hills that are popping out of water all over the place. It's a beautiful place. There are certainly some parts of Seattle that are depressing, overrun by the homeless, yada, yada, yada. But it really is a beautiful place. And the first Seahawks game that I went to, it was a Thursday night football game, Seahawks-Rams, where Russell Wilson had this awesome touchdown pass throw to Tyler Lockett. The game was won at the very end because there's this one end zone for the Seahawks where there's always bad things that happen for the opposition there. There's like ghosts and stuff. It's really a fascinating place. And if you ever have the chance to go to an NFL game, this is a damn good one to do. More from DeMeco Ryans talking about that environment that he's familiar with from his time with the San Francisco 49ers.
DeMeco, you've been in that stadium a lot, about going in that stadium and playing there.
Yeah, it's a fun place to play because of the environment. I think when you think about football environments in different stadiums, Seattle is one of those stadiums that ranks pretty high to me when it comes to just, you talk about a rowdy bunch that's gonna be loud, the crowd noise is gonna be there, the fans are gonna be into it. Their players do a good job of, making plays and feeding into the crowd, getting the crowd hyped up. So it's always a fun place to play, always a tough place to play. It's challenging because of the noise, the environment, right? But you have to be able to block that out. And as many times I've been in there, when you can block that out and just focus on executing and doing the things you need to do to play good football, that's what's going to help you, right, to quiet the crowd.
We'll see if they are able to quiet the crowd. I will say the Seahawks seem to be a better road team than a home team of late, which pisses off the 12s. For those who don't know, the Seattle Seahawks, we might do a little bit more exploration on this on Monday's show. The Seahawks have, I believe, bought the rights to the 12th man trademark from the Texas A&M Aggies. More from DeMeco Ryans at his press conference on Tuesday, talking about the Seattle Seahawks specifically. He had a lot of interesting things to say about Clint Kubiak's Seahawks offense, how good their play action is, because this is a team that really does a great job of setting things up deep for Sam Darnold, who is the best quarterback in the league this year, chucking the ball downfield. Here is more DeMeco.
Seattle's been they're by far the number one team in the league, play action pass.
Landry asking the question, by the way. Landry Locker, SNL, The Locker Room.
What do you think makes them so good at that, and what goes into defending that?
And for Seattle, they're good at the play action pass game because Kubiak's done a good job wherever he's been as a play caller. He's done a really good job of establishing the outside zone scheme. Right, and with the outside zone scheme comes the keepers off of the outside zone action. So he's done a really good job of marrying both run game and passing game, meaning they both look very similar. So the play action pass game works because of the offensive line and how they come off the football, right? How they make the run look exactly like the pass. It puts the second level defenders in a bind where, are you stepping up to defend the run, or can you key it and diagnose it quick enough to understand that it's pass and now I need to drop in coverage? So they've done a really good job, starting with Kenneth Walker in the run game. He's a really, really good running back in this league, and He's done a really nice job. And when you have him running the ball the way he runs it, all right, guys are going to commit. And once you get guys to step up 2 or 3 steps off, and now Darnold's done a good job of getting on the edges, making good decisions down the field, and he's had a lot of guys open in those play-action passing concepts. That's why they've been successful as well. A lot of guys are wide open.
So, microphone was muted again. We learned very quickly to unmute the microphone. We will see how good I'm not mad this time. Don't worry. I'm very curious to see how the Texans fare in this game. This is a real test. The question I have in the thumbnail is, are the Seahawks actually a good team? They are. They've been better than the Texans this season. Darnold's been awesome. I don't know if it lasts, but he's been really good. Is this going to continue? I truly couldn't tell you. But the Texans have their work cut out for them. If they want to get people to buy back into this team, they got to win. And then they got to win the next one, and then they got to win the next one. Next 3 games, very tough. On the road against Seattle. Home against the 49ers, which is going to feel like an away game. Home against the Denver Broncos, which is going to feel like an away game based off of the last Texans-Broncos game. So there you go. All right. More Texans-Seahawks talk later on in the week. I don't know how many people are still paying attention to baseball's playoffs. I watched a little bit of last night's game. I saw Julio Rodriguez hit that home run. They have a 2-0 lead on the Blue Jays. And I'm imagining a lot of Mariners fans who always expect things to go horribly wrong were uncomfortable leading a game 2-0 when they already lead the series 2-0. Then the Blue Jays woke up. 12 runs over 4 innings. They had a 12-2 lead. They chased George Kirby from the game after just 4 innings. And we saw some really good hitters at the plate, specifically one Astros X. You up? George Springer. Looking good on the gram. He's healthy. He's playing deep in the playoffs again. 3 for 6 with a home run. I miss George Springer a little bit. I do. I imagine some people, you take a look at the Astros who were nominated for the Gold Glove Award this year. Cam Smith at right field. Shout out to Dana Brown having the vision to put Cam Smith in right field, seeing him as a right fielder considering he'd never played the position at any level of professional baseball before this year. And Mauricio Dubon as a utility guy. Hey, at least the defensive side of things the Astros were able to execute this year. You have 2 guys that are Gold Glove candidates that are also not really important hitters in your team, and you didn't hit this year after having a directive going into the season of being more patient at the plate. We'll see if Springer's able to keep it up, but it's hard to not keep tabs on ex-Houston Astros with the Astros out of the playoffs, and all of us supposedly relieved that we can watch baseball's playoffs without the Astros in it. I think everyone's full of shit pushing that. I see so many people doing it too. Yeah, I'm relieved. Because the only thing that comes when your team wins all the time is relief, which is actually true. I say this as someone who grew up a Patriots fan. You would become more relieved over big wins than you would be excited at times. But another Astros ex, Alex Bregman, is opting out of his contract with the Boston Red Sox. Not a surprise. Scott Boras, who is shilling for his client the best way he can, thinks that 10 to 15 teams are going to want to sign him to a long-term contract. I don't know about that, especially given that he was dealing with injuries at the end of the year. The Tigers, the Blue Jays, the Mariners, and Royals are all in the mix to potentially bring him in. We'll see if it happens. One of those teams decides to give him a big-time contract. I don't think anyone's going to give him a bigger contract, though, than, I guess, whatever the Astros offered him, which was, I think, a 6-year contract, right? Something like that. Because they don't go over that 6 number. Would be funny if the Astros brought him back into the most crowded infield you've ever seen, with Paredes and Correa, your third basemen. Jeremy Pena playing shortstop. No idea who's at second base. Probably not Jose Altuve, and Christian Walker at first. Crowded infield. They got some big decisions to make. Wouldn't it be funny if Jim Crane just goes back to what he normally does, which is pandering to the fan base, getting that big splash? They brought Correa back. They brought Justin Verlander back. I think we do know this about wherever Bregman's next destination is. The Red Sox, who traded Rafael Devers to shed salary, are very unlikely to keep him around. Very unlikely. That's the Red Sox way. It used to be, we're trying to keep up with the George Steinbrenner-led New York Yankees. We're going to throw money at whoever we can to compete. This is what John Henry's Red Sox ownership, after they took over for the Yankees back in the early 2000s, did from the get-go. Such an upgrade from the previous ownership. But now they're like a multinational corporation. They own Liverpool too. I'm sure they own some other bullshit. And they don't really seem to care that much about the product. They're more concerned with the profits. And even if they are underachieving, there's still a shit ton of Red Sox fans who are loyal diehards that are going to go to every single game up in Boston. They're addicted to that. And this isn't a team that really, I think, is committed to winning. I think we've seen this for a while. How funny would it be if they shed that Devers contract and then they don't even keep Alex Bregman, who was a big part of getting the Red Sox to the playoffs, even if they weren't able to advance out of the wild card round? Jason Wagner says, if Alex Bregman opted out of $40 million a year, he's a fucking idiot. Why not explore what you can get? Why not? $40 million is a lot, but he played great last season. Those numbers that he has, are people across baseball going to look at Alex Bregman and say, well, he's great at Fenway and he's great at Minute Maid, which have similar dimensions in left field in that ballpark, but he's not going to be great in other places? Maybe, but still an elite fielder. That's why it was crazy that Rafael Devers was so offended by the idea of, as one of the shittiest third basemen in all of baseball, being moved off of third for Bregman. That was fucking crazy. Remember when that happened? This offseason, we talked about it on this show. I'm very curious to see where Bregman ends up next. I doubt it will be with the Houston Astros, but it is interesting to see that he is opting out of that contract. By the way, what's going on with Justin Verlander? Justin Verlander opt out. Where the hell is he? Justin Verlander contract, Giants. All right, I think he's a free agent. He played for the Giants last year, 1 year, $15 million. Is it possible, given that the Astros have some questions in the rotation? We talked about this with Chandler Rome last week. Is it possible that the Astros look into the idea of bringing Justin Verlander back to fill out the rotation? Because after Hunter Brown and after Christian Javier, like, who are your starters? Can't be Ronel Blanco. Probably. Can't be Hayden Wisniewski. Probably. Is it Lance McCullers? You can't rely on him. Who the hell's going to be that number 3 starter? I think there's a chance Verlander comes back. I wouldn't put money on it, but it would be really interesting to see if he ends up back. Sean Martinez says, no one wants Verlander. He needs to go home with his hot-ass wife. I mean, that's maybe what you would do, but I think Verlander, who has said that he wants to play as long as Tom Brady does, I don't think he's done. It would be hilarious if Verlander's back for a 3rd stint with the Astros. HTX Rhino points out that they had Zach Greinke. Yeah, I don't think it's crazy, the idea of the Astros bringing Verlander back. It's not that far-fetched. I wonder what the percentage chance would be. I'm going to have to ask Chandler what he thinks the percentage of that is. All right, let's talk a little football here, baby. In the National Football League. We're going to play our awesome football song in the background. Here we go. Yeah. This song's such a banger. I'm not telling you what it's from. You can try to figure it out if you want. Breece Hall, Jets running back, had a cryptic Instagram post that a lot of people are trying to dissect. What do you think this means? What is Breece Hall getting on about? Look at this post from @BreeceTheBeast23 on Instagram. They want me to lay down, but I got some to stand for. #free20. Here he is walking into a football game with a t-shirt, a chain, camo pants, and definitely a purse. That is a New York Jets colored purse. How many pictures are there of him holding a purse? Do the Texans want to trade for a running back with a purse? No purse here, but he's got holes in his pants. He seems to be a fashion guy. Maybe a little bit like Jalen Green on that front. Jets picture, fashion picture. What's this? What is this? What are those shoes with the tube socks? I don't think that's him. That's some random guy wearing a White Sox hat flipping somebody off. Oh my God, I wonder if he took multiple takes for this one. Leather jacket. That's a nice leather jacket. My plan. God's plan. Sometimes God doesn't do things the way we think he should, but God has a perfect plan for your life. Trust God. Amen. What do you think that means? Does God's plan involve Breece Hall going to the New York Jets? More from this cryptic post. It's him playing for the Jets than him being fashionable. Are those pants leather? I think they are. Likes to wear the Yankees hat. Camouflage pants again with the green purse. He loves that green purse. I feel like the Texans shouldn't trade for him because of the green purse. And then he wraps up this Instagram post with a Tony Soprano quote. I stay humble because I've seen people become what they laughed at. This is something that's straight out of the 50-year-old man on Facebook playbook. Posting a black and white photo of a fictional TV show character and acting like you're like that person. How many times have you seen that with Tommy Shelby by order of the Peaky fucking Blinders? You've definitely seen it a lot. Anyway, everybody. Breece Hall might be posting cryptic things on Instagram, but the Jets say they want him to stick around. Aaron Glenn, Jets head coach, said he wasn't interested in moving on from Hall in August. And he also said this past week that he hopes that Breece Hall remains with the Jets. The trade deadline is November 4th. I also saw Garrett Wilson is being talked about too. I don't know if any team's going to have the amount of ammunition to trade for Garrett Wilson because he's probably going to involve a couple of picks. But per Dan Orlovsky, Garrett Wilson is being wasted in New York. His talent is dying there. I think Garrett Wilson signed a pretty big contract to stay with the New York Jets. $130 million over 4 years with $90 million in guarantees this offseason. Garrett, you're miserable. You're mad about the game plan. Don't stay with the bad team. We will see if the New York Jets make a trade involving any of those couple of players. More around the National Football League. Deshaun Watson, per Kevin Stefanski, is doing a great job rehabbing. Insert joke about Deshaun Watson's rehab practices. He says that there's no update, Stefanski, on Deshaun. But I think everyone needs to see the thumbnail on this post. You got to see the thumbnail. And for whatever reason, I'm unable to show it. But there is a picture of Deshaun Watson with a towel over his head. And I'm wondering if that's one of Deshaun Watson's towels. The man brought his own towels to his massage therapy sessions that got him in hot water in Houston. And it seems that from time to time, he may have jizzed on them. Caleb Williams, Bears quarterback, said that he was motivated by Troy Aikman's criticism. We talked about that Instagram post that Williams made yesterday when he was asked about what Troy Aikman was, I guess, alluding to on the Monday Night Football broadcast, which is that the Bears were lucky to win the game. By the way, they were. Jaden Daniels fumbled a fucking handoff on 3rd and 1 in Bears territory before the Bears drove down the field for that game-winning field goal. Caleb Williams, when you're in a competitive situation, like myself, when people have stuff to say about you, whether it's that week or a whole year or whatever the case may be, I think you do use it as a little bit of fuel, as a little bit of motivation. I think that's always part of it as a competitor, but you don't put too much into it where it affects you negatively. Interesting. More around the National Football League. I guess when it comes to Caleb Williams and Troy Aikman, Troy didn't meet with Caleb Williams for some reason. Here is Caleb Williams talking about that at a press conference.
Did you meet with Troy last week leading up to the game?
I did not.
Stuff,
I did not. I didn't get to meet with him. Tried to meet with him, and then reached out and tried to meet, and that didn't happen. And so, moved on from it. Went and played the game and came out 3-2.
It is a little interesting that Troy didn't find time in his schedule to meet with the quarterback of one of the teams that was playing in Monday Night Football. It's a little weird, right? But I think that the Bears need to stop bitching and moaning that Troy Aikman wasn't super enthusiastic about them during a Monday Night Football game. Mike Vrabel was asked about his return to Tennessee. He actually gave an honest answer. He said that his return is interesting, but it's not important. Well, for me, it's important because I want to see the Patriots put on another can of whoop ass on the many bad teams that they are playing the rest of the year. The Miami Dolphins did a little cleanup yesterday for Tua calling out teammates about not attending team meetings and leadership. Tua said, "My comments were a mistake and should have remained in-house." Yeah, they should have. They should have, especially when you got people calling you out as somebody who also was occasionally late to team meetings. If there's players-only meetings happening over and over and over again, by the way, like the Texans when they seemingly had 3 over the course of a couple of weeks, that generally gets old for those players after a while. So I can kind of understand why some might actually end up being late to these many team meetings that they are having. Mike McDaniel was asked about those Tua comments again. God, it's 3 days in a fucking row. And he said, listen, the Dolphins have much bigger fish to fry. Yes, that is 100% sure. 100% true. Did anyone catch the end of Jonathan Gannon, Cardinal head coach, his press conference? This is an all-time clip. Asked about where he learned to take the emotion out of coaching. Shoom, 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 shoom.
Coach, how early in your career did you have to start trying to figure out how to take the emotion out of coaching, as far as when you have all these injuries and you have all these different pieces? When's the first time that you can recall that?
2007, when our quarterback went to jail.
Coach, thank you.
That's how it ends. When our quarterback went to jail. Shoom, 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 shoom. He's talking about Michael Vick back in 2007. I guess he was with the Falcons back then. I did not know that. Speaking of jail, can we talk about what a stupid asshole Rashee Rice is? This guy's a fucking idiot. This is the same guy who was suspended just 6 games by the National Football League for doing Grand Theft Auto Dallas, weaving in and out of traffic like he was Dom Toretto in the Fast and Furious franchise. This is something that he posted to his social media now that his suspension is done. This is all-time tone deaf by Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice. In case you haven't seen it, here is the clip. I mean, are you fucking kidding me? Do you see this? The RR. I guess he has created his own logo. The RR. As part of an announcement that he is making it seem like Michael Jordan's coming back. And look, Rashee Rice is a good wide receiver, but what an asshole to post this. How tone deaf are you? What the fuck are you thinking here? You're acting like you've just overcome some sort of injury. Huh? Bro, you almost killed a bunch of people cosplaying as Dom Toretto in Fast and Furious. But you're posting this dramatic montage. Do you think this is a superhero movie or something? Have you watched too much Rocky 4? Dog, you nearly killed people. What an asshole. Anyway, let's continue to go around the National Football League, everybody. The NFL is flexing about 21.9 million people combined watching Bills, Falcons, and Bears Commanders. Okay. Imagine how many people might have watched those games if they weren't fucking staggered. Because, for context's sake, Wednesday, ESPN announced their audience during the overlap was 21.9 million. Jets, Dolphins, Bengals, Broncos, Week 4, 21.4 million. But some of these games that have been on Monday night are getting better ratings than the 2 games are getting total. Chiefs, Jaguars had 22.3 million. Lions, Ravens had 22.8 million. I don't know. Why not just air the standalone game? It's weird that they're competing against themselves. I truly do not get that. And now they're flexing about the ratings. Ratings talk is, by the way, the most annoying shit that there is. Did you know that NFL kickers are 70 of 108 on 50-plus yard field goals this year? And some people are wondering if there is a link between the K-ball changes and this success. The NFL changed K-ball procedures so teams have access to their kicking balls before games for field goals, kickoffs, and extra points, which means you can sand them down a little bit. You can probably let a little air out, perhaps inflate them. I think Vic Fangio is right saying the new rules require an asterisk for how many extra long field goals are being hit. I mean, 70 of 108? Jesus. Maybe narrow the goalposts at that point. Let's keep on rolling through. Did you see the uniforms that the Los Angeles Chargers are wearing on Sunday against the Indianapolis Colts? This does not make me feel good about the Chargers stopping the Indianapolis Colts. Just to be honest. How could you feel good about the Chargers going up against the Colts when they look like fucking bananas? How? How can you feel good about this game? We want the Chargers to win here, by the way, but they look like bananas. I've looked like a banana playing football before. It doesn't end well. I'll even show you some highlights. Here is me playing football for Shorecrest Preparatory School back in 2006 against St. John Newman, wearing all gold. We were the Banana Chargers. We had gold helmets with the lightning bolts on them. We had gold jerseys. We had gold pants. We looked like pee. Look at this shit. This looks terrible. Also, that's me returning the ball right there. Did play. Whoop! And whoop! And I should have kept running there. Here's another play with the Paul Gallant. This is our scissor play. Scissor me, Timbers. Whoop! I should have broken that tackle. Do I still think about those two plays? Yes, I do. And I wish I got the ball more. Wish I got the ball more. Anyway, what else do we have going on in football? We've also got a Thursday night football game tonight. Steelers-Bengals. Steelers are 4.5-point favorites. The over-under for this game, 44.5. I'm taking the Steelers and the points. I get it's a Thursday night game, so shit sometimes gets crazy, but I mean, the Bengals already don't have Joe Burrow. I don't think Joe Flacco is going to make things much better. And Trey Hendrickson is a long shot to play in this game. I wanted to post a clip. I am getting really tired of Kirk Herbstreit, who brings his fucking dog everywhere. Imagine if you're at a hotel room and in the hallway, you've got some asshole, you don't know it's Kirk Herbstreit, who is throwing a tennis ball down the hall and his dog is clomping and chasing it. This is the same dog that murdered a baby squirrel. This is the same dog that took a shit on national TV. I get loving dogs. I get it. And that is a cute dog. But dog people bring their fucking dog everywhere. And Kirk Herbstreit does it on a level where it was understandable when his last dog was dying, but he replaced his dead dog with this dog like 5 seconds after that dog died. And now this dog is with him everywhere, and they're constantly posting content that involves him. Dogs, bro. I love dogs. That is a cute dog. But dog people love making you feel like you're in their living room out in public. I'm sorry. I don't know what time of day it is. I hope it's not in the middle of the night, but this is an asshole move to be throwing a tennis ball down the hallway of a hotel and have your dog chasing after it. Period. Anyway. There you go, everybody. That is around the National Football League. The 10-minute drill. Not Santa is asking for me to show my lightning. Let me show you. Let me show you. No, I'm not about to show my penis. Oh. So this is my high school football helmet. You can see. We have basically like the Air Force Academy lightning bolts. You can also see, and I put them all on one side of my helmet, so I'm not that awesome. But we had these little cockroaches that were upside down with a helmet on them to like signify that we did something of note during the game. So here, let's see. Does it even still fit? I feel like my head's getting bigger with age. It's been a while. Oh, it still fits. Should I do the rest of the show like this? Can't fit the headphone in. It matches my jersey. Huh? I'm just like Breece Hall with my green purse. Oh my gosh. Oh. Not gonna lie, it fucking hurt. Football helmets, putting them back on after not having one on for a really long time. Not a pleasant experience. All right, guys, we're about to get into the politics segment of the Gallant Says podcast. Let me get everything in front of me ready to go. Since I am currently jobless, we'll have an update on that in a couple of days. Good news. There is a world of possibilities open for me to cover in a way that's not covered by traditional sports talk. Traditional sports talk is essentially hoping, program directors, that you're going to talk about the National Football League and the local NFL team, if there is one, as much as you possibly can, because you're trying to keep as many people who might tune into the radio listening for as long as possible. But now that I'm in this spot, temporarily, I hope, I can start looking into things that don't get talked about that much. I'm going to start off this segment by talking about something that people are pissed off about. Has anyone seen that President Donald Trump is threatening to relocate World Cup matches? The most recent example of this is the other day he talked about Boston, which I guess had some incident involving pro-Palestinian protesters. And he is saying that he's considering pulling the World Cup out of whatever cities are getting out of hand. Every article that's been written about this says he does not have the power to do this. To me, he's trying to intimidate as a means of negotiating. Art of the deal. I'll be honest, I'm not sure how much he knows about what he hears is going on in Boston, which is apparently a war zone. By the way, I'm going to be going there with the girlfriend in a couple of weeks. We've been to 2 war zones in 1 month. Who would have thought? For those who don't know, the World Cup in Boston is going to be played at Gillette Stadium. Gillette Stadium's like 30 miles south of Boston. It's in Foxborough. It's far from Boston. It's an hour by commuter rail. It's even longer if you drive. I don't think anything that's going on in downtown Boston is going to affect the actual World Cup. But he's threatening to remove the World Cup from Boston. And I feel like that thing that he wants to do is something that more people in cities across the United States should want. I know that's going to be an unpopular take here, but do you really want the World Cup in your backyard? Do you really want the Olympics in your backyard? Forget all the war zone shit and forget what Trump is trying to do here, which is to make our cities safer. Seems to be mild oversteps in certain situations. I don't know how many people saw the viral picture of the Biggleby's that the Texas National Guard sent to Illinois, seven of them were sent back because they were too out of shape. There was a viral picture of that, but that's neither here nor there. I'm going to ask that question again. Do you really want your city to host a World Cup match or the Olympics? I ask that question as somebody who actually took a class that studied the Olympics back in college. And what I learned, this was my first experience of how the sausage is made in sports, is that the IOC is a bunch of corrupt assholes. And these people will basically ask countries across the world to kiss their ass so that these countries across the world have the opportunity of hosting a worldwide event. And essentially what it ends up being for these people who are in the IOC or in FIFA, an opportunity to go on vacation so that they get wined and dined and get to fuck their wife. I am not kidding on that front. That is what it's all about. And every single one of these host cities is going to have some sort of committee that is going to pat itself on the back for something that happens temporarily. And they're going to make all sorts of changes happen in your backyard for that temporary thing to please people that aren't from your city, with ideas that come from people that don't live in your city. When I frame it like this, when you realize that just getting to host a major sporting event involves a lot of Gluck Gluck 9000 to these corrupt assholes who legitimately just want to go on a fancy vacation to fuck their wife, does it make you feel a little bit different about hosting one of these places? Funny moment by Trump, who made things a little more difficult for these people. When the city selection event happened, FIFA wanted it to take place in Las Vegas. I wonder why, given what I just told you. Trump had it moved to Washington, D.C. Would you really want your city to host a World Cup match? It would be a great experience to go to the game. Anyone who's been to a Final Four game, it's that on steroids. By the way, Houston's hosted the Final Four a couple of times. It's had a couple of Super Bowls. Doesn't seem like a lot of the people involved in organizing those events are organizing the World Cup, which I'm not hearing some great things about behind the scenes, and we'll be doing more looking into in the near future. But would you want the World Cup here, realizing that that short moment where you maybe go to a World Cup game, that memory that you create, it's fleeting. But the changes that happen to a city that hosts one of these major events are not. And often it leads to wasteful spending and things that don't get used once they're done. You've seen extreme examples of this in Brazil, in China, for past Olympics and past World Cups. But do you know what's going on in Houston? Do you know what's going on in downtown Houston? Did you know that downtown Houston is going to be transforming a little bit over the next couple of years, partly for the World Cup and partly for the Republican National Convention in 2028. They're going to create this big walkable promenade in downtown Houston. We all know what downtown Houston is. Ghost town. No one walks in this city. You got to have a car to live here. If you don't, it sucks. Take a look at old pictures of Houston. Downtown Houston was a bunch of parking lots. Take a look at pictures of Houston today. Lots of buildings. But do you see people walking around very often? No, you don't. This is not that kind of city. No matter how hard people try to make it that kind of city. Part of the reason is it's fucking October and it's 90 degrees outside right now. But when you got people who aren't from a city, who have these big plans that they want to build something, they don't think about the long term. Are people going to use a downtown promenade? Maybe, but probably people from outside the city, because this is going to be around a bunch of convention centers for people outside of the city. How does this help us? People will tell you about trickle-down economics when it comes to hosting events. It's bullshit. Complete bullshit. So many studies about it. Hey, if you get a stadium, a new stadium, it's going to create jobs. Full-time ones with insurance, with premiums going up? No, it doesn't do that. It's going to give you part-time jobs for people to work at a stadium, for concerts, for games. Well, there'll be restaurants in the area around the stadium. Sure, maybe, maybe not. By the way, how many businesses have been closing recently in that downtown Houston area where they're going to create this promenade? How many? I'm sure that people with a lot of money who are investing in real estate are loving this. Real estate's the constantly appreciating asset. Fantastic. This is great. But who the fuck's going to use this promenade? They're permanently closing Polk Street, I saw. This was voted on. 14-1. Did we even get to vote on that? Classic Houston. We don't get to vote on something that we want to vote for, like destroying the Astrodome, which we voted to do. They still think that's going to turn into some sort of convention center. Who's going to fucking pay for that? You got to ask yourself what the World Cup coming here long term is going to do for you, for me. Because there's going to be some massive changes happening. This promenade apparently costs $2 billion. Where does that money come from? Where does it come from? In a city that's focusing on fucking crosswalks, whether it's got George Floyd or rainbows on them. Where the fuck's that money coming from? $2 billion. You think it's only going to cost $2 billion? You fucking idiot. This is one of those things that you see the $2 billion number. This is going to be $5, $6 billion. It's going to take way too long to be built. Is the World Cup going to benefit Houston long term? Doubtful. Especially considering what I'm hearing about the World Cup preparations here in town. We'll be doing more digging on this. But I wanted to set the scene for you with this segment. It's a bit messy, the organization of the World Cup that's going to take place here, which isn't surprising given the state of soccer in town. The Dynamos suck. I don't know how Major League Soccer continues to expand, but I think Dynamo owner Ted Siegel, who says he has big plans to lend a hand in the city's preparation for the World Cup, I think that his team, which I'm sure pushed the idea when he took over that they were going to be competitive. I think they signed, Hector Herrera? And I'm a soccer extreme casual. You think I'm a baseball casual, I barely know anything about soccer. But I know enough to know that if you're a soccer fan in Houston, you should be absolutely ashamed of what a fucking disaster that team is and how little they seem to give a shit. They really don't care. You live in a city with an incredibly diverse population. You've got so many Hispanic people. Hell, you've got a lot of people from Nigeria. You got all sorts of people from out of the country that love soccer and, like the Texans used to, this ownership group is like catering for the whites, you know? But whatever. That neither here nor there. Dynamo payroll. Where does it rank? The Dynamo payroll rank. Let's see. MLS salary rankings. Do they not have this ranked? MLS salary rankings. The Dynamo have the 25th highest payroll in all of soccer. 25th. Third biggest city in the country. Second biggest city in the country. Not the second. But third, fourth biggest city in the country. 25th highest payroll. 25th. A joke. And the people from the Houston Dynamo are going to help set up a World Cup that's going to involve a lot of money to build something that probably isn't going to help you out long term. Huh. You want these fuckers involved. And you want to get even crazier? Has anyone heard about the Houston Dash? And how they're about to be sold? I know what you're thinking right now. Paul, what the fuck are the Houston Dash? It's the women's soccer team that plays here in Houston. There's a women's soccer team here? Yes, there is. No one goes to the games, much like no one go to Dynamo games. But somehow, some way, in the eyes of a Chinese billionaire's son, the Dash are worth $120 million. What? $120 million. This is a story from Reuters from about 8 days ago. Houston Dash owner Ted Siegel is in advanced talks with a group interested in buying the NWSL club for $120 million. Any transaction likely would require increased scrutiny. You think? Somehow the Dynamo are valued per Sportico at $74 million, which is also crazy. How? No offense to the ladies out there. How the fuck is any women's soccer team valued at that? And this Chinese billionaire's son wants to buy them for practically twice the price that they are estimated to cost. Want to get even crazier here? The RHC Group was founded by Richard Cao, who was born in the United States. He is the son of Chinese billionaire Jinhua Zhao. Guess what Jinhua Zhao's doing right now? Jinhua Zhao. He is in prison. The son of an imprisoned Chinese billionaire is trying to buy a women's soccer team for nearly twice the estimated cost. Is that not fishy or what? What a crazy story. No one's talking about it. Seems pretty fucking sketch, doesn't it? Or sus, as the kids are saying. How the fuck does that cost that much money? What do you think's going on behind the scenes there? I'm sure nothing that's money laundering or unscrupulous. That would never happen. A Chinese billionaire's son who is in jail for a decade plus is buying the Houston Dash for an outrageous amount of money. No one goes to those games. No one will go to those games. No one's going to go to Dynamo games either, even if there is a diehard soccer fan base in this very diverse city of ours that is somehow hosting a World Cup event. So you got shady dealings with the Houston Dash, the Houston Dynamo being cheap, and seemingly a group that's trying to organize a World Cup here that, from what I'm hearing, is in over its head. And who might pay for all of it? You. Wild. I'm seeing some comments making some accusations. You think I don't agree with that? Crazy story. We will definitely be doing more diving in on that. Because now that I'm doing a show that I can go in the directions I want to go in, we will be looking into that. I hope you found that interesting. I found it extremely interesting. And I will be doing more digging. Watch out, Dynamo Dash. I don't know how much digging I'm going to do on the Chinese Communist Party side of things, you know? Don't want to end up in a concentration camp with all the Muslims in their country, which is a thing, by the way. I'm trying to think about why the Houston Dash might be valued as much as they are. Maybe it's this. Have you heard about the male gaze? There was an article, and I'm not talking about the male gaze. I'm talking about the male gaze with a Z-E. I'm not talking about me. Waka waka. I'm talking about the male gaze. There's an article at CNN.com. This is the headline. After years of progress on gender, maybe too much progress, the male gaze is back. This article was written by, I don't even know, and honestly, smart by them to say that I need a CNN subscription to read this whole article. So I'm going to use the work of Jerry Thornton of Barstool Sports to figure out what the fuck's going on here. Let's read the article. Should I do it in a normal voice or should I do it with a Valley Girl accent? What do you want me to do here? I will leave this up to the chat on YouTube at Paul Gallant, on Twitch at Gallant Says. Please let me know. Because I could do it. Hang on, let me spit. Gotta huck another loogie. That's why I keep pressing the mute button, by the way, and talking, and you can't hear me. So I guess I'm just gonna spit. Normal voice. Ryan wants the normal voice, but Ryan also doesn't like the Astros trombone. For those who don't know, Big Ball Squad is saying Valley Girl. I want you to do it. I want you to do it. You sound like the Joker in The Dark Knight. All right, come on, do it. I want you to do it. I want you to do it. I want you to tell me to speak in a Valley Girl accent. I'm going to lubricate the voice. I Hate Largo says problematic African-American accent, please. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. Ooh, this is a good compromise. Omar F says Southern Belle accent. Hang on, let me huck another loogie. Gross. As a child of the 90s and early 2000s, I grew up with my mother's and grandmother's generation fight for legal and workplace equality, helping shed social misogyny. That sounds fun with the Southern Belle accent. In the past decade in particular, I saw the evidence of progress in my media diet. Body positivity under the fashion world. Stories about a woman stealing your name were traded for celebration of the girl's girl who resisted the competition for men's attention. Whatever the catalyst, a change in the political environment seemed to connect with the social change that brought back narrow and at times constrictive ideas of womanhood depicted in media. The recent rise of weight loss medications coincided with social media influencers sharing ways to get smaller and no longer celebrating bodies of all sizes. Advertisements followed suit, making men's desire once again a dominating factor in how stories are told and how women are portrayed. How had these discarded ideas made their way back into circulation? Didn't we all agree we were through with them? The culprit, I've learned, is the male gaze. Again, not the male gaze, the male gaze, G-A-Z-E. It was always there, but now it has stepped back into the spotlight. The male gaze come roaring back this summer. American Eagle ran a controversial ad campaign starting in July. The ad sell jeans to women featuring actor Sidney Sweeney, who many men see as a sex symbol, insinuating the clothing would make men find them more attractive. I mean, it's a hot person modeling clothes. God, that was such a stupid fucking story 3 months ago now. This article continues, CNN.com, behind a paywall. Thank you, Jerry Thornton, my guy, for getting this from underneath the paywall. Most typically, the male gaze is about representing women in media solely to satisfy heterosexual men. I'm going to read this in a normal voice because this is a real title. Said Dr. Linda Tunke-Zayer, professor of marketing and John F. Smith Jr. Chair in Business Administration at the Quinlan School of Business at Loyola University, Chicago. What a long title that starts off with, Doctor, shut the actual fuck up. I hate it when academics who are not real doctors saving lives decide that having paid a little extra money to do some sort of study about the male gaze allows for you to force people to call you doctor in a country where everyone is supposed to be equal. Are you fucking kidding me? Fuck off. All the way off. But anyway, that is an actual position. Dr. Linda Tunke-Zayer, professor of marketing and John F. Smith Jr. Chair in Business Administration at the Quinlan School of Business at Loyola University, Chicago. If you are observing women in movies, TV, fashion, social media, and marketing, and they don't feel as fully materialized as their male counterparts, that is the male gaze. Sex sells. Always has sold. And now hot people being celebrated again is the male gaze. People like looking at things that they find pleasing. It doesn't mean they want to fuck them all the time. That is a real article. And perhaps the male gaze is the reason. I'm just tying things together very neatly. Perhaps the male gaze is the reason that people are looking at the Houston Dash and seeing them as valued as $120 million, not Chinese Communist Party money laundering, because they would never do that and have never done that. Just ask them. They've never done that. Not once, not even twice, not even 3 times, not even for their entire history as a party. Never have they done that. Not once. Okay? So there you go. There you go. Big Ball Squad 2021 says he said Southern Belle accent, not Herbert the Pervert. Well, what do you want? What do you want from me? I thought that was a good voice. Ryan Lost in Texas says this is specifically written for a women's studies class at a Midwestern liberal arts college that you would read about in pen test letters. You were right. Loyola Chicago, everybody. Not Santa asks, it's Thursday. Where's your tinfoil hat? That is a miss by me. Hang on. Let me get the tinfoil hat on. Sorry about that, everybody. I got to go to my costume closet. So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that at where I used to work, my tinfoil hat is still there. You guys should ask Jeremy or Joel, not Joel, my bad. Jeremy or Joe to wear that today, because it is a tinfoil hat Thursday. But I have created a greater, oh fuck, does this? I mean, I wanted it to look like a samurai helmet with a spike on it. But is this? And there's no hood. So I don't think this is giving KKK vibes, but it might be giving KKK vibes. It might. But sorry, I should have been wearing this tinfoil hat while I was talking about the Houston Dash being valued at $124 million, which is fucking ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I did TV this morning, and I actually slept in a little bit too long. I would have been doing TV at actually Shell Oil Stadium. Wonder if they'll let me back after this segment. I think we're going to do more of this. Because while I like talking about the NFL and all that stuff, it is at times a little bit repetitive. And, I mean, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to be predicting from, the Texans and the Seahawks on Monday. But I hope you enjoyed that segment, everybody. Hope that you enjoyed that segment. Anyway. I have no more takes to give you. Yep, we're done. We're done. That's it. No. Jason Wagner says, damn, you didn't get the tinfoil hat in the divorce. I forgot. I forgot that it was there. I forgot that was there. Not Santa says it looks like more like the shredder than a KKK hood. Good. I did not think about what that hat might look like until I actually put it on. That's the first time I put it on. I thought it was gonna look like I thought it was gonna look like this. A little more like a Attila the Hun. I was going for this. That looks pretty sick, huh? I was going for more of that. Man, I gotta play Total War Attila again. Also, I gotta figure out how to play video games on my computer. I was gonna start playing Battlefield 6. Battlefield franchise is the one that I really love. Let's get a little ambiance right now, because we should land the plane. Like we're done. There's no more content. But now I'm just screwing around. I want to play video games and perhaps stream them as I play them. So maybe I can become someone who's like bad at video games but plays them. But there's this thing that Battlefield is doing with this like anti-cheat system, and you essentially have to completely change your computer. Secure boot. You have to have secure boot to power anti-cheat tools, and you have to like completely change your computer. If you don't know anything about computers, like you're kind of fucked. But I want to stream video games at some point in the near future. Maybe I'll do Medieval Total War or Medieval War Attila or Civilization 3, the game that I play way too much, even though I cannot beat it at the highest difficulty level. But before we get out of here, I do want to play arguably the greatest theme song ever for a video game. Hell, I'm just going to show you the clip. This is awesome. This game, iconic. Jason Wagner says, that's definitely what the world needs. Another person streaming video games. Fuck you, man. Fuck you. Come on. Hell yeah, dude. This is 2002 graphics. Look at this. This is not what the game looked like, though. But yeah, you could drive ships, fly planes, drive tanks. This is what started the whole thing. Isn't this theme song awesome? You could drive subs. People would mod the shit out of this game too. What a game. Oh, yeah. Driving over a German helmet. Little market garden action. Let's go. D-Day. They had a good Omaha Beach level. It was awesome. Anyway, everybody, that's going to wrap up today's edition of the Gallant Says podcast. If you ever have a question, send me an email, gallantsays@gmail.com. You can also send a text or leave a voicemail at 281-836-3912. Thank you so much for tuning into today's live show, if you did, which you can catch weekdays around noon on YouTube at Paul Gallant. Like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. On Twitch at Gallant Says, give me a sub. On X and Twitter at Gallant Says Pod. Give me a follow if you haven't already. Instagram at Sports Gallant. TikTok at Gallant Says. Although today it's not on TikTok. We're not going to be back on TikTok till next week. And on Facebook at Paul Gallant Sports, like my page. It's also available after the fact wherever you get your podcasts. So if you haven't already, subscribe, rate, and review the Gallant Says podcast on Apple, Spotify, and if you roast my ass, I will read it. Until tomorrow at noon Central Time. So long, farewell.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu, you ladies of Spain.